Last week, we spoke for those who were here in groups of 3 or 4. And as we got together, we discussed what had been left unsaid, or words that had been spoken to us that had been important in one way or another. I was struck that in the group that I was in with the worship task group, as well as the group I think it was that Vanessa was in, they shared about the distance that could occur between parent and child, and that there were the lack of words that might be shared, especially among men, it was found, in the sharing of feelings, those 3 words of, I love you. And so it seemed appropriate as John's song came to us, and as we listen to this song, I'd like to share that John thinks that his father was excellent in many, many respects, and that he truly wants to be like his father. And he told me that if he had had a son, that he would like to play ball with that son. John is one who knows about the now of the moment, as you heard through that acceptance prayer. How in our vulnerability of coming to the now place, we often face choices, one after the other, as the father in this song would, each and every day, that it may have been out of noble ambition, out of financial need, or otherwise to go off and to leave the son. But certainly we find that in the song, in the lyrics, we feel the heavy cost that that means, both for that child, and later we see evidence as that pattern repeats itself through his son. That the time is not carved out, that the relationship isn't put to a priority, and who knows, that father may have not had it mirrored for him. How do we break a cycle? How do we partner alongside those who are lonely in the midst of their own war within, their own inner turbulence, their own lack of feeling that love, to know that there is a difference that can be made, a different choice that can be put forward? We know from Mark today that in quick succession, Jesus has been vulnerable with his disciples, telling them exactly what is going to happen to him. It's going to be bloody. It's not going to be pretty. We know that in large part it's because of what's swirling in the world and the inability to allow a voice of love and radical love at that to come in. That the warring nature and the vying powers that be of empire are going to mean that Jesus is not long for the world. And yet, what do they do? As normally pointed out, that they were vying at a root of selfish ambition to consider maybe in this life and a life to come who would be the greatest. And other gospels too, and we hear about what that would mean about where you get to sit and how you get to keep in good company with this master, all the while missing out on the opportunity right in front of them to continue to connect right where they are, right with him, walking in faith and with each other, putting themselves in that moment before where they would be called to be as community. For we know that Jesus in the flesh will not always be with them. There may be regret, just as we hear it in this song, perhaps. Those moments as the cock crows, those moments leading up to Pentecost when they say, oh gosh, if those times that we had met with Jesus, if we had allowed it to sink in, if we could believe the truth, how would have our choices been different? And you have to believe that when it came to the presence of the Holy Spirit, calling them forth into the initiation of the church, that they said the choice of the now is to live in the now and believe that the Holy Spirit was with us and to carry that torch of Jesus, because there is no time to waste. Isn't that what it is about childhood? When you hear the mashup in this song, it's the collection of those nursery rhymes that hit us in a deep place, perhaps in some of this regret or in some of that land of some distance. Some of us feel perhaps warmth, while others feel a great deal of coldness. But it's that familiarity that hooks us, and that Harry Chapin is able to use successfully to tie the nostalgia of whatever was with the ability to do something about it now. As I was reading the backstory to how this song was created, there was all the comments in the comment section below. And there were story after story about those who, upon hearing this song, at just the right moment when they needed to hear it, they made a life change. There was the story of the woman who was riding with her husband in the car, and when this song came on, they were listening to the words, and the car stopped, and just then she looked over, and tears were streaming down her husband's cheek. And he said, "I want to do better. I want to, in this short window," I imagine he would say, "of our children's lives, when it means so very much to be formed, I want those windows to know that I am here. I want my children to know that I am present, to toss the ball, to do whatever is necessary, to know that they are not alone in this world." Because if we look at this world, certainly there are plenty of things to keep us distant and to keep children scared. Perhaps you are very familiar with what's come out in the last month, ongoing stories of what's happened in Pennsylvania with the Catholic Church. And this past week, we've been peppered with what can happen in young adulthood at age 15 to those who are trying to figure out where they are in life. And certainly the connections or breaks can lead to sexual indiscretion or assault, and the deep impact that those can have on people for a lifetime. We think of these things and we remember Jesus pausing. This is the true gut check. Just like Harry Chapin's song is able to do that to us, to get us in that place of really looking at our priorities, that's what Jesus is intending to do here. Stepping right in the middle of our selfish ambition, whatever that might be, and causing us to part way and to let the little child meander at their own pace, let me tell you. Every day when I'm trying to bring my 2-year-old to the car from school, at their own pace, to meander to the car, to meander into the center of our lives and remind us of the humility that comes when you're wide-eyed with wonder and still trying to get this world figured out. He allows that child to come in with a beautiful degree of meekness that perfectly contrasts with their inflated sense of self-importance. Now, all of this is important. Can we imagine what Jesus might sing to this child? Not all of our rhymes end in a beautiful and wondrous place. Perhaps you'd sing with me, "Rock-a-bye baby in the treetop. When the wind blows, the cradle will rock. When the bough breaks, the cradle will fall. And down will come baby, cradle and all." Who ever thought that was a great lullaby? And why do we still say it? Maybe there's a truth in there that at some level, this window of time, this precious window of time, will come to a close. There's only so very little that we can do to protect our children against the warring factions that can exist within or without. And at some level, maybe they will fall and feel the hardness and the bruising of that experience. And it is the prayer, I think a prayer deeply laden in this song that we hear, that as they, not if they, but when they come across these difficult things, will they have those words, the I love yous or the nursery rhymes or something to connect them with the positive experience that they are loved and can get through it. That is what the disciples will need. For it is indeed Jesus who has been that fallen one, the one who, in the heaviness of what he takes on, overpowers that cradling nest at Bethlehem, and as a result takes on the cross and reminds us that it is a God who has taken on flesh, not a man in the moon at some distance, but a God who got gritty and lifelike and human with us in such a way that he parted the waters of our doubt, that he can do that now, that God in all of her glory, she can welcome children unto her arms, all the ones out there in the world we'd like to help that we can't, and give us the agency to know that we can make a difference helping the children that are in our paths. That's what I'm calling us to think about and consider today in the conversations I've had with people across this church is how are we as KC making space, intentional space that maybe puts aside a few of our other concerns and welcomes the children into our midst in their own terms, perhaps in their own meandering time, because we have so very much mutually to learn from one another. And their short window of childlikeness needs to meet our golfing sense of adultness so that we might be taken down a few notches, remembering the fall that Jesus has taken and remembering the short time we are here on this earth. Ellen's preparing to lead us through a powerful time of some prayer. And I know that for some of you, having heard this song and allowing these thoughts to ruminate, that perhaps there's something that still needs healing in the past. Perhaps there's something right here and now that is circumstantially keeping you from being with and among and fully present of heart and mind to those who are desiring you to be a source of love. But I have good news that from what I've seen of KC in my almost 90 days, is that this is a place where he, she, Z can come, that each and every person is valued, and that the care of the Creator is felt here in a way that is embodied and irresistible. So as we consider where it is that we need healing in our own journeys, I trust that the Creator continues to make a way for each and every last person. And that we, in our own ways, instead of vying for a place, might truly seek to be like the Father, the One, the Mother, the Source. That indeed, in one point in time, both here as we've felt it, but also when we're called beyond this earth, that arms would be wide and we would be beloved, just as we are and just as we yet can be. Amen.